Naughty and nice. Who's been good and who's been bad in the fantasy hockey realm? We'll tap into it on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Merry Christmas, you filthy fantasy animals, and welcome back inside the lab to the latest edition of your daily 30-minute source for all things fantasy hockey. It is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, where we continue to show love to the everydayers who make us their first listen every single day and who have put the Locked On Sports Podcast Network as the #1 sports podcast network out there. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can get right in the middle of NFL action this season at FanDuel.com and get your NFL live bets in all season long. Mr. Rodin, naughty and nice. It's fun, it's festive, but it also brings the angle to our GMs out there that want to know what's going on, good and bad so far. We're almost at the halfway point of the NHL season. We've got studs, we've got duds, naughty and nice. Bunch of players to talk about on today's show. Over to you, my friend. Wherever you want to start, I'm ready to get into it. Merry Christmas.
I'm really feeling this festive topic for today's episode. Naughty or nice, who makes it, who's getting presents, who's getting cold out there, who made the right and wrong decisions so far this season. And I gotta, own up to one of my mistakes going into the year. Me slandering Trevor Zegras was not on the, Trevor Zegras, kind of showing me up was not on the bingo card this year for me. So I got to show some love to him and what he's been able to do so far this season for the Philadelphia Flyers, who are revamped, rejuvenated, and the vibes are high under Rick Tocchet right now. And maybe not for Matt Michkov, who they got into a screaming match the other day, but Trevor Zegras is up there right now. He's already surpassed his season from last year with the Anaheim Ducks. He had 32 points in 57 games last year. After this trade, so far this year, 37 points in 36 games. He passed that in 20 games less. He's on pace for a career high 84 points this year, which would be 20 points higher than what his current career high is right now. He's shooting the puck a lot more. He's showing his creativity, his playmaking, his vision making as well. And just based on where his, average draft position, his ADP projection going into the year, he's surpassed it with flying colors at this point. In the preseason rankings on Yahoo, he was ranked 223rd. He's currently ranked 58th. He's providing penalty minutes. He's got 12 power play points. Like I said, he's shooting the puck a lot more, 82 shots on net. Obviously, hits and blocks you're not going to get a ton of because that's not his game. But it's great to see him find some success so far this year, playing with guys like Konechny, Owen Tippett, your boy Noah Cates from time to time as well. Great success so far this year for Trevor Zegras in Philly.
That's actually what's been really impressive to me, Steele, is how he's fit in with the top 6 forward group in Philadelphia. And kudos due to this team, because as much as, there was a lot of nice pieces that we started to like and the needle was going to start pointing in the right direction, they were still bad last year. So for them to, and it's halfway through the season, but I'll say take the step that they have, sitting in the second spot in the ever tough Metro Division with 45 points. This group deserves a ton of credit, and Trevor Zegras is at the heart of that at the forward group. So much love. I like this one. Let's head to the naughty list very quick to start on my side of things with Dougie Hamilton. He's there at the top of the list on the graphic. He's not at the top of the list at many other things this season, Steele. Man, Dougie Hamilton has been disappointing. I went back into our competitive league to see the draft history of where Dougie Hamilton went. And maybe this was a little early, but he went, I believe, in the 7th or 8th round. And that means you invested into this player headed into this season. And looking at his numbers, my goodness me, it's bad, Steele. He's definitely been a naughty boy. 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points in 33 games. This is a player that I know I'll speak for myself. Even with the injuries over the last couple of years, I still expect 35 to 45 points all day long for a guy that offensively, at least, used to bring it and some decent peripheral love. Everything is down across the board, Steele.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on this player. 33 games, he has 8 points. he's hitting the naughty list for sure, which is surprising considering the Devils do sometimes score goals in bunches. So this guy's really been struggling this year.
He really has, and the team's been bad almost since Jack Hughes went down to his injury. Especially over the last two and a half weeks, they've been atrocious.
Almost put Jesper Bratt on this list too, not to cut you off there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, going into this episode off air, I almost had 3 New Jersey Devil players on my naughty list. I'm going to get to the rest of my naughty list at the end of the episode. I want to talk about the nice players first, but I also had Dougie Hamilton on my naughty list. 8 points in 33 games is not good enough. I still would have, going into the season, I projected him to be in that realm. 7th, 8th round is where I would have him at. Guy who perennially puts up 40, 50 points, who can provide the peripherals and shots, blocks, and hits. He hasn't done that this year. And we knew there may be a slight regression with Luke Hughes taking over the quarterbacking the first power play unit, being that elite level young defenseman that New Jersey's looking him to be. We kind of figured that would happen, and Dougie Hamilton's name has been on the trade block as well a little bit.
True.
This is as bad as we could have expected it to go. Like, this is bottom of the barrel. He gets full for Christmas. Sorry, Dougie Hamilton, you have not been a good boy this year on Christmas. I want to get back to the nice list.
My bad. I jumped all over the place there.
It's all good. We'll get to the naughty list later in the episode. Nice list, though. Let's get to another defenseman in this Eastern Conference, and it's actually Nikita Zadorov for me. I think he's been fantastic for the Boston Bruins this year. I think he's really, not to say he's overachieving, but he's providing a lot of offensive flair to his game this year as well. 13 points in 38 games. He's actually on pace for a career high of 30 plus points this season. He leads the NHL, I believe, in penalty minutes. He has 97 penalty minutes on the season. So just for him to do what he does, he leads the NHL, 97 penalty minutes. Guess who's in second? Mikko Rantanen with 71, which is absolutely crazy. Good. But for me, Nikita Zadorov has really excelled this season in Boston. 47 shots. He's going to provide the peripherals, blocks, and hits. 102 hits, 61 blocks. Like I said, 97 penalty minutes. He's got 13 points on the year. He's been a big, bad, and bruising defenseman for the Bruins. It doesn't mean he's a bad player, though, just because I said that as a characteristic. He's on the good list for me. He's getting loads of Christmas presents this year. He's been tremendous. And just, again, fantasy ranking-wise, preseason 257th. He's currently ranked 43rd in our competitive and casual league in those categorical formats.
Big time heavyweight tilt between him and Arbor Xhekaj the other night. That was an absolutely great game between the Bruins and Habs, by the way. Run back that tape. That's hockey right there. When we talked about this Boston Bruins team, though, quickly before we get to the break, and then we'll go with the nice list first. Sorry about getting all over the map there. It's Christmas, baby. We're getting a little festive. This blue line was going to have to be the strength for this team. Zadorov, McAvoy, Lindholm. We like our boy Mason Lowry. And Swayman has been pretty good. Definitely a bounce back year. And they have propped up a team that, even though we think they have overachieved in terms of offensive output, Morgan Geekie, that's going to be hard to continue down the stretch. This team deserves a little bit of credit because I think I put them right at the bottom of the barrel still headed into this season in this division.
Yeah, we both did.
They're very much in the mix, but that Eastern Conference is tight. So will be the rest of our holiday content. Making sure you guys are ready for another weird week in the fantasy game. Keep it tapped right here. More episodes coming up, breakdowns, and all the analysis you need. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting in real time. With FanDuel, you place your bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is at its best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or momentum flips. After a turnover, live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly make it even more legit, my friends. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet on touchdowns, drive results, totals, and more. You want to be right in the middle of the action this season? FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
And thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get fantasy hockey with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonfantasyhockey.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Once again, thank you so much for all of that holiday and Christmas love over the holiday season. We appreciate it all so much out there, across the network. So thank you for all of that love and support. Flip over to you. Let's talk about these Central Division goalies who make the nice list as well.
Absolutely. Scott Wedgewood. Is this even real life? He has one regulation loss, 16-1-4. 2.01 goals against and a .924 save percentage. And Steele, I had this up a second ago. I'm certain that goals against is number one. It is in the NHL. That save percentage is tied for second in the NHL. And when you talk about how good this team has, he's also got 2 shutouts. How good this team has been, we know it's a wagon. We know what McKinnon is doing up front with Natchez on his flank, what Makar has been able to do. Even the secondary cast, we've talked a lot about some good waiver streams even deeper down that lineup. Don't overlook how good this man has been. This is next level stuff here. He's legitimately being considered for the Canadian Olympic team. Do I see it? Still probably not. But that's no joke. These numbers are also no joke. And to bring it back into the fantasy angle, I wouldn't ever say sell high on a goaltender when the market has been this volatile. And I'm not going to say that here. What I will do, though, is say if you have this player on your roster from early on, or for some reason in a deeper format, you took a shot on him expecting it to be more of a split headed into this season, which I don't personally see, you're probably in first place or second place. That's how good Scott Wedgewood has been. Nice list.
He really has been, and as good as he's been, he's still not the number one goaltender in our fantasy leagues, Flip. It's my boy, Minnesota Wild, Jesper Wallstedt, who makes the nice list as well. Scott Wedgewood's been incredible, but what Jesper Wallstedt's been able to do as well is right there on the same level. 14 games in, 10-2-2 record. He may not have the best goals against average, but he does have the best save percentage at a .933 save percentage this year. He also leads the league with 4 shutouts on the year. Side note, Philip Gustafsson, second in shutouts with 3 on the season. So the goaltending tandem in Minnesota is at an all-time high right now. I'm absolutely loving what Jesper Wallstedt is bringing to this table. And it gives a little bit more of a fight and a little bit of an urge to Philip Gustafsson as well. I think that duo loves playing together. I don't think they mind sharing the crease right now as the team continues to win games and fight for, top 3, top 2 in that Central Division with those Colorado Avalanche, with those Dallas Stars who have been at a different level so far halfway through the season. Again, if you were able to pick up, because I don't even think he was a draftable player he was a draftable player at the beginning of the season. If you're one of those guys or girls who picked up Jesper Wallstedt off the waiver wire, because of how thin the goalie market was and it panned out this way for you, your team must be excelling at this point, because I don't see how you could be at, not in a playoff spot at this point in the season if you have one of those goaltenders on your team. Jesper Wallstedt, Scott Wedgewood, getting all the Christmas presents from over here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast.
Most definitely, Steele. And I love this conversation. It gives us an opportunity to talk about some standouts and some players that have obviously, we'll talk about Quinton Byfield, and we were going to do a fades episode. So you just got to have your finger on the pulse, eyes on the prize, all of the sayings. However, I don't think many people coming into this season, peg John Carlson for nearly a point per game season. I know this is a player that you've spoken about on our show over the last couple of years as just steady as she goes with fantasy production and fantasy value. And you look at him, he's now 37 years old still. Sorry, he's going to be 36 years old. You know me with the ages and the numbers. It's always a struggle. 52 points 2 seasons ago, 51 points last year, on pace to pass that very easily. You're still getting a little peripheral love, 43 block shots, 70 shots on net. The shot total is up as well. This is a team that also, I said I expect at some point the wheels to fall off, and maybe it's not going to happen for the Washington Capitals this year. 3, 4, and 3 over their last 10 is starting to look like that, but I still see a ton of value here with this team. And I think John Carlson this season, with that 12 penalty minutes he's chipped in with, ice time still almost at 23 minutes a night. I know his deployment is solid as well in terms of he still catches some, I believe he still catches some power play time in Washington. I'm going to bring that up very quickly. He is still holding that down on the second power play unit, which Ovi plays on both. Really good year that I don't think is getting enough credit this season.
I think you could also throw Jacob Chychrun on the mix here on this nice list too. Both those players, John Carlson and Chychrun, are getting the job done on the back end. 29 points for Carlson, 28 points for Chychrun, led by Tom Wilson, who has 34 points in 36 games. While they have struggled over the last few games, I still think this is a dangerous team. Defensively, the entire team needs to, pick up everybody. It can't just be on Logan Thompson to bail them out. It can't be on the defensive group to bail them out. It has to be a full squad effort. This might be a good time for the Washington Capitals to get this Christmas break right now and kind of just regroup and get back to how they were playing at the beginning of the season. Jacob Chychrun, John Carlson, great players so far, great fantasy players so far this year. Let's get to the naughty list. We'll get to break and then we'll wrap up this episode too. For me, it's Jordan Kyrou. He's got to be on this list. For a player that has really excelled over the last, 4 or 5 years now, consistently putting up 70 plus points, which he has done over the last 4 years, 3 out of the last 4 years. I know he's been injured. I know he's missed the last 7 games, but even before then, when he was in the lineup, he just didn't look like himself. 16 points in 28 games so far this year, a -9, only 69 shots to show for it as well. You don't get a lot of hits. You don't get a lot of blocks. So if he's not providing any sort of offensive flair or production, and of course, like I just said, he's not one to be known for those peripheral categories, he's a drop in this case. He really is a drop on your fantasy hockey team, especially if he's holding up an IR spot. Again, going into the season for a guy with an ADP of that, early to mid round, 7th, 8th, maybe 9th round, you expect him to excel and be in that area. Again, pre-rank was 70th overall on Yahoo. He's currently ranked 476. I know that has to do with missing games to this injury. It just isn't good enough. And maybe it had to do with all of those rumors about him potentially being traded. Maybe it made him lose his confidence a little bit. We know the St. Louis Blues isn't a great team, but not to this extent, not for Jordan Kyrou.
First and foremost, I'll say 2 things quickly because I do still have Matty Schaefer on the nice list, which I'll get to very, very quickly. This St. Louis Blues team has allowed the most goals against in the NHL this season. That is going to be a problem when you also have a whole bunch of key players injured. Snuggerud, Torpachenko, Dylan Holloway, Torrey Krug's been out the whole season. Now Kyrou's out. That is going to affect the confidence of the group and the ability for a player like Jordan Kyrou to produce because of what's around him and the confidence of the team when the goaltending has been that bad, Steele. It's just a mess in St. Louis. So I'm with you here. Everyone has spoken about Matty Schaefer this year. I talked about him at the start of the year on our first start, stash, and drop. You and I kind of didn't see eye to eye, but there's no way I could have predicted it going this well. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, but also just say this. This is a special player. And I know I'm not the first one to say it. And I know it's not a hot take. They got their guy in the New York Islanders on the blue line at least. We've spoken about this team for years not being able to figure out how to put together a roster that's going to be able to compete in that Metro. They got their guy on the blue line. Let's see if they can figure it out in the other aspects of the game. Had to give love to Matty Schaefer because he is a special player and he is going to start pushing himself into that conversation of, we know it's Makar, then the next echelon, but he's going to start putting himself in that conversation of the 1Bs in the fantasy game on the blue line real soon, Steele.
Yes, he will. He has had an exceptional season. If you were able to draft him as well, your team must be doing great. Hopefully some of these players that we're about to talk about on the naughty list can pick themselves back up going into the new year. Hopefully all of that and more after the break on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. leave a 5-star review. I don't know what just happened. The graphic went 3 different times there, Flip. What's going on over here?
My bad.
All good. Flip, you're on the naughty list now. You're on the naughty list for that.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's my bad.
Naughty list, though. I'll throw it back over to you. I got only one player since I've already talked about Dougie Hamilton and I talked about Jordan Kyrou. So only one player, a goaltender on the naughty list. Who are you looking at for the naughty list, my friend?
Quinton Byfield is a player that, and unfortunately, Steele, a couple of these guys I have on multiple teams. So trust me when I say these guys deserve to be on the naughty list. 19 points in 35 games for Quinton Byfield, a second overall draft pick, Steele. When we started to see the progression in his game over the last couple of years, at 21 years old, he puts up 55 points. Last year at 22 years old, similar 54 piece. And now the expectations are there. I'm sorry, you're a second overall pick. There's some really good players in the mix in LA. You got Darcy Kemper holding it down in the blue paint. This is not a situation where you're on a team in a rebuild as a young player, which then you get a little bit more slack. 4 goals, 14 assists, the shots on net, 78, the peripherals you don't get. He's also just not playing good hockey, Steele. He only is winning draws, and I know this isn't a fantasy angle, 40%, and this guy's supposed to be your second-line center. There are some glaring concerns here with this kid's game. I don't know if it's a between-the-ears situation. He hits the naughty list, 4 goals, is so not going to cut it, in my opinion. And I know he's a little bit more of a playmaker and not exactly a shooter, but that is still not good enough, in my opinion. I invested in him in a couple of leagues. It's been disappointing. Naughty list for Quinton Byfield. My expectations were a lot higher than what he's performing.
Look, this is supposed to be your first line center after Kopitar hangs them up at the end of the season as well.
Exactly.
So
well said.
it's not great going into the season or going into the future if this is what you're going to be living up to. And, when the expectations are really high, and you're seeing that from a lot of players who were drafted, top 5, top 10 over the last few years. Alexis Lafreniere could be on the naughty list. Quinton Byfield's on the naughty list. We've got a few more as well, but that just haven't been able to find their game, find their groove at the NHL level so far, and just have that consistency with their game. My last player for the naughty list is Linus Ullmark of the Ottawa Senators. For me, he just hasn't been good enough, especially for a guy who going into the season, was projected, ADP wise, somewhere in that 8th, 9th, 10th round. He could have been one of those, 0G strategy type of goaltenders, in that middle to later rounds. He does have 14 wins on the season. He is top 7 for wins on the year amongst goaltenders. However, he's outside the top 30 when it comes to goals against average at 2.86. He's outside the top 45 when it comes to save percentage with an 886 save percentage. In the 27 games that he's played this year, I mean, he has a record of 14, 8-5, 1 shutout. Out of the 27 games that he's played this year, I could honestly say he's only had 4 good games, and 4 of them have been above a 915 save percentage. So outside of that, he's been the liability for this Ottawa Senators team, which is now outside of a playoff spot. They were holding down a top 3 Atlantic spot for majority of the first half of this season. They have struggled a little bit of late, and most of that has to do with Linus Ullmark and just the poor play, poor performance they've gotten on his behalf. He needs to be a lot better if this Ottawa Senators team wants to be a cup contending team. I think they have everything in the making when it comes to their top 6 forward group, when it comes to their depth even. They're Jake Sanderson being a top 10 defenseman now possibly, and just what they're able to get on the back end from a guy like Artem Zub and Clevin. Linus Ullmark needs to be better in order for them to be, like I said, a cup contending team.
And what's interesting is his last 5 starts, if you just look at the win-loss record, you would say, they've been getting dubs. And yeah, they lost to Buffalo in a close 3-2 overtime finish the other night. They beat Columbus. They've been awful. Winnipeg, really bad lately. Pittsburgh, bad. Boston, also bad. So your previous 4 wins, if you look a little closer, and I'm not trying to detract from a team that I really do like to detract from, Steele, those are just teams that are not playing good hockey. So, look into the numbers. Linus Ullmark, I get it. I like this one because, I like to throw hate on the Sens whenever we possibly can, when it makes sense. Last player, we'll wrap it up. Shout out to you, man. Merry Christmas. Sorry, I butchered the graphic there. You are on the nice list for sure. I can't say the same for Braden Point. And again, I dug into our drafts to see where Braden Point went, because guess what? This guy's on my team as well.
Yeah.
Probably another reason why I'm in last and in third last. So when you've got a guy, though, Steele, for real, 44 goals, 40 goals over the last 4 seasons. And then, I'm really butchering this. 51 goals, 46 goals, 42 goals. Those were his assist numbers. And
there
then
you
he's
go.
putting up 6 goals this year. This is a situation for me as a second-round draft pick that I took Braden Point, and at the time felt really good about having a previous 50-goal man in my squad. This guy definitely hits the naughty list. He hits the disappointment list. He hits the biggest surprises in all the bad ways, all those lists. Really frustrating player for me, and just really not good enough, especially when 11 block shots, 4 hits, you're not even getting any peripheral love, 65 shots on net. It's been a mess for Braden Point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has to do with the injuries that he suffered this year as well, but that's not something you can predict. When a guy consistently puts up 40-plus goal season, 80-plus point seasons, you can't predict him to just completely fall off a cliff and not even have remotely close to a same type of point per game pace that he's been on the last, 5 to 8 seasons of his career. Those things you just can't predict, especially for a guy who's consistently been a second to third round draft pick every single season. It just sucks. It happens to you, Flynn.
And also Tampa Bay is just also so legit. It's not like, the team is struggling.
It's weird.
And you want to have some patience. I got no patience for Braden Point. And I know he's been putting up a little bit better of a percentage clip in terms of points. This second half for me is going to be ugly. I'm not looking forward to our next Listener League check-in episode. I'll just say that.
Hey, maybe you can trade him to me. I'll send you like Adam Fantilli or something.
Send me a sub of the day. Sub of the day special and a couple of candy canes, and we'll get after it.
There we go. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you can get all of the latest episodes. Follow us on X at LO_fantasy NHL. If you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays out there. And we will be back tomorrow or later in the week with a Fantasy Fades episode.
Peace.